to do the right thing. There's several components in that, most of which are hidden. First, there's courage. Then there's the right thing. And then there's doing the right thing. And I would invite you to consider that all of that is predicated on first knowing what the right thing is. I was recently rereading the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And if you have that book, I invite you to go back and just read chapter 1. And stay with chapter 1 until you really get everything he's saying in chapter 1. Because there is a lot in chapter 1 before you ever get to the first agreement. And what he's explaining in chapter 1 is how our thinking got to be the way it is right now. He points out that when we get here with a blank slate when we're born. For me, the analogy of the computer world works really well. That we're born a blank hard drive connected to the mainframe. Language is the programming code. So we get here with a blank hard drive. We're a blank slate. And people start programming us with language before we ever know what language is. And so the idea that if we're operating from unexamined thought, that we're operating from conscious choice is incorrect. Because we're operating from programming, none of which we consciously agreed to. And when I got that, I got free to start changing things. Because I was confused. There's this mental battle going on. And part of what Don Miguel Ruiz talks about in that first chapter is the deepest faith that we operate from is that programming. Faith being defined as an unquestioned belief. We're raised by parents. We're raised by extended family. We're raised by schools. We're raised by friends, which then means we're taking on the programming of their family and their extended family. And all of that is operating as our mental processes before we ever even know we have a mental process. We literally are Stepford human beings and don't even know it. Now, if you just take a minute and let that go in, for me, that was a little unsettling. It creates probably the deepest form of cognitive dissonance that I've ever experienced. Cognitive dissonance is when a deeply held belief that defines our very existence gets challenged. And it takes us to that place of questioning our very existence. Well, if this isn't true, what is? Is my whole life a lie? Is everything a lie? Don Miguel Ruiz has a very simple answer to that. Yes. 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 It's all incorrect. It's all wrong. Because it's all based in what he calls the dream. It's what Science of Mind would call conditioned thinking. It creates separation between us and the mainframe. So the mainframe is operating on pure information. We're operating on information that by and large never taps into the mainframe. And in fact, most of what we operate from is in opposition to truth. Except it's true for us. And it's true for us because we've been conditioned based on this reward-punishment system that we don't even know is happening. That whoever is programming us, when we get it right, we get their attention. When we get it wrong, they withdraw their attention. Now keep in mind, this is happening before we even know what language is. So as infants, literally our physical existence depends on getting your attention. If I don't get your attention, you don't feed me. If you don't feed me, I'm leaving. Now instinctively we know that. As adults we reason backwards and think we actually knew it when we were infants. We didn't. You can ask your infant, what will happen if I don't feed you? You're not, what? They don't know. And we didn't know either. Okay? The freedom in that is recognizing that none of that was by choice. So we can stop blaming ourselves for making the wrong choice. You didn't make the wrong choice. You just showed up with a blank hard drive and laid there looking profoundly cute while you got programmed. And you loved it. You loved it because you got attention. Because people interacted with you. People made you smile. People made you laugh. And so the indoctrination, it wasn't painless, it was joyful. Why is this important to know? Because when it gets questioned at a very deep level, what gets questioned is our sense of joy. What's getting questioned is our sense of aliveness. So we arrive at science of mind with this apparently very benign invitation to change your thinking, change your life. And we say that as if it's as simple as changing a tire. Not so much. What we're actually standing in, folks, is huge. It's huge. You don't have to change anything. You just have to change everything. You don't have to change anything. We have to change all of it. It would be really easy if I had this vision last night driving home from the Foundations workshop, which was fabulous, by the way. I want you to know you are in community with brilliant practitioners that don't have licenses. It makes them no less brilliant practitioners. Okay. Ernest Holmes said anybody who practices science of mind is a practitioner of science of mind. Okay. There was tremendous brilliance in that room yesterday. I am excited for the future of this community, and this planet with what I experienced yesterday. I walked out of there in my holy wow place. And there was cognitive dissonance in the room. Because when we really connect with the mainframe, we disconnect from our hard drive. So driving home, I was talking with Deborah, and I just busted up laughing, and she's like, okay, I give up. What are you laughing about? My mind is a carnival in there. We were passing a computer store, And what flashed in my mind was a line of the human race outside the store going in to exchange our hard drive. Right? Hi, my hard drive is malfunctioning. I would like a new one. Wouldn't that be easy? It doesn't work that way. I have my own practitioner. Just a side note, I have a practitioner because I still have tons of work to do. Okay. And so I'm in a session with my practitioner, and we were talking about shifting consciousness and old memories. And what was pointed out to me, it was like so clear, because oftentimes we talk about getting rid of memories. And my practitioner looked at me and went, that's called Alzheimer's. Right? I was just sat there and went, whoa, is that really what I want to manifest? No. I don't want to get rid of my memories. I want to transform my memories. I want to reprogram my hard drive. Because the truth of the matter is, we can't get rid of it. Think about consciousness in the global perspective, the universal perspective, the infinite perspective, as a pot of soup. Okay. In your pot of soup, you got a bunch of ingredients in it. It's every thought that's ever been thunk. And somebody else zips through your kitchen and throws some seasoning in there, and you're like, wait a minute. Can you take it out? No, it's there. Now you got a soup around it. Okay? And that's what's happening in the collective consciousness. Every thought that has ever been thunk is in the soup. We can't take them out. And it flavors the soup. And then we taste it and we're like, not so much. So we're living from that. Our individual responsibility is to put in ingredients that make the soup better. If we arbitrarily just start throwing ingredients in, we just start throwing thoughts at it, or we start taking things out thinking that's going to change it, it doesn't work. We're actually part of the problem. Okay. So the courage to do the right thing is the courage to transform. Is the courage to first get clear, what is the right thing? What did Ernest Holmes say the right thing was? Does the thing I wish to do express more life, more happiness, more peace to myself, and at the same time harm no one? It's very clear. If what we're adding to the soup harms anyone, we're part of the problem, not part of the solution. This is one of those moments where I'm glad that there's no door back there, because I'm pretty sure the Signs of Mind police would be coming after me here in just a minute. We often use principle to justify the most hurtful behaviors. I've heard it. I've done it. If I'm telling the truth, I've done it. Well, we are the individualized expression of the one, and we do have free will, and you're responsible for your experience. I'm not. If that is your line of thinking, I would invite you to take an honest look at what are you defending? Does the right thing need a defense? Has anyone ever gone to court? What do you plead? Rightness? I'm guilty of rightness. And I'm going to defend myself for rightness because I've been brought up on charges of acting so correctly in life that it's a crime. Rightness needs no defense. No one's ever going to take you to court for doing the right thing. They may object because they may not like it. We have to get really clear. Disliking the right thing is very different than being harmed by the right thing. Okay? So that justification and manipulation of principle goes both ways. I don't get to stand in, you're responsible for your own experience, so I get to run all over you and blame you, and here's a little guilt and shame to go with your spiritual practice. Okay? I also don't get to be on the flip side of that and blame you for my experience. I think those of us that function as humans, if we get clear, even if we're unclear, we know what's right and what's wrong. We're pretty clear it's wrong to slap another human being. We're pretty clear that assaulting somebody is wrong, stealing is wrong. Okay? Except when it's not. A couple of examples, brilliant examples, came up in the workshop yesterday. Cutting someone with a knife is wrong. We can all agree on that. Unless you're my surgeon. And then, please cut me. You can't get to where you need to go without cutting me. This is the trick that happens in our brains with conditioned thought. Our hard drive is operating in illusion. Our hard drive is actually, it's not illusion because it's very real. It's delusion. Here's what Don Miguel Ruiz says about it. And I love this. Oop, that's not what I want. Okay, maybe I'm going to tell you, maybe I'm not. Right now I have George Washington looking at me. That's not what I want. He talks about we've harmed ourselves. Here we go. The judge in the mind is wrong because the belief system is wrong. The whole dream is based on false law. Okay. And he talks further about harm, which honestly I sat with for quite some time. Before I get there, we don't see the truth because we are blind. What blinds us are all those false beliefs we have in our mind. And then he talks about harm in very clear terms. Nobody abuses us more than we abuse ourselves. And it is the judge, the victim, and the belief system that make us do this. So when we're talking about doing the right thing, let's look back to Ernest Holmes. The right thing harms no one. You are someone. If I fail to start with my own consciousness, if I fail to start with the courage to do the right thing in my own consciousness, in my own life, in my own spiritual practice, I harm me. If I harm me, and my life experience is expanding outward, I harm you too. There's no way around it. When I share my harmful beliefs with somebody else, I'm sharing the harm. We don't mean to do that. And I want to be really clear about that. When our parents indoctrinated us, did they know they were indoctrinating us? No. Why? Somebody indoctrinated them. They're operating from the same automatic programming. So let's just get guilt and shame out of the room, because it doesn't belong here. This isn't about pointing fingers. This isn't about blame. Courage, and I did not know this. He's not here today, but thank you, Doug Gerdall. During our foundations class on Wednesday night, we often, Doug and I, take turns see who can look up words the fastest. The root word of courage goes back to medieval French, of the heart. I did not know that. My programming about the word courage was bravery. And it was bravery that required an enemy. Because I had to be courageous against something. Now, if we put that in context, the courage to do the right thing, I cannot rise up against an enemy and do the right thing. Ernest Holmes doesn't say, where did that go? He doesn't say, and at the same time, harm no one except those who deserve it. That's not in there. But that's in the programming. We get to harm people who deserve it because we've rationalized that they're harming themselves. Probably the most twisted use of principle I ever heard was, God's just using me as an instrument of karma. That's not our job. Karma is an inside thing. Science of Mind talks about that, is that we are punished by our mistakes. Not by you. I don't need you to come punish me. I'm taking care of that just fine on my own. Because all the pain is in our consciousness. We don't need to inflict it on one another's bodies. We don't need to inflict it on one another's bank accounts. We are suffering in our own consciousness because it disconnects us from our courage. It disconnects us from our heart. And so how do we get to the right thing? We got to get to our hearts, people. The right thing comes out of my heart, not out of my head. I don't have to worry about the programming if I'm living from my heart. My heart doesn't use words. My heart doesn't use programming. My heart acts on the invisibility of truth. We can't see joy. We see the effects of joy. We don't see love. We see the expressions of love. We don't see peace. We see the activity that follows peace. And our programming has it backwards. That we will be loving, we'll feel loved when people act loving. It's never going to happen. We'll have peace when everybody's behavior gets in line. It's not going to happen. It's really not. We will have peace when we have peace. Because when I am at peace, I will do the right things that demonstrate peace. Science of mind, we can complicate a toothpick. We are a heady bunch. It's real simple. The truth is in the mainframe. Connect your hard drive to it. The moment you become aware of it is a thought. That thought instantly goes into the law. Instantly. And what goes into the law is instantly created. You don't have to work at it. You just have to open to it and say yes. The system is already foolproof. It's there. I invite you to quit thinking and start thinking. Most of our thinking that we think are thoughts is thinking about thoughts. This is noise. This is truth. This is what's going into the law. Connect with that. Get clear with that. I invite you into an experiment. To sit with this 5-step treatment that we do. To first recognize, what is it? What is the mainframe? And as you become clear on a feeling level, not a thought level, what is it? What does it feel like in my heart? The moment you have that sensation within you, you're in step 2. Whatever it is, I am. And then allow your heart to speak step 3 to your hard drive. Allow your heart to do the programming. I invite you on a daily basis for the next 30 days. Just try it. In silence. Allow your heart to reprogram your hard drive. Stay in that heart space until you feel gratitude. Because now you've moved a step forward. And just stay in that delicious gratitude until you feel complete. And then you're in step 5. And release. There's only one step in all 5 steps. There's only one step where we actually do anything in the human form. And that's the 5th step. We let go. Everything else is internal. Everything else is the activity of the one in us. I invite you, 30-day experiment. You're not microchipped, so we're not going to track it. And I promise you, at the end of 30 days, if it didn't work, I will gladly refund your misery. What I can tell you about the creative process is that it works every time. And right now, it's working. See, there's no escaping it. So we can take conscious participation, or we can just continue to create from the programmed hard drive. But there is no option to not create. For me, that when I first really heard that, it was like, oh no. Because I know what's swirling around up there. And there's nothing in me that wants to create more of that. But understand this, the harder you try to get rid of it, the more you're focused on it. The more you're focused on it, the more powerfully you're putting it into law, and the more repetitively you're putting it into law. And that's why we keep all waking up at some degree going, I thought this was done. Didn't I fix this 10 years ago? Why is it back? Because it never left. It never left. It can't leave. You cannot take the salt out of the soup. But you can transform the soup so it's not so salty. What are you adding? Okay. The courage to do the right thing. The heart informs the doing of what is right. That's the courage to do the right thing. We allow our heart to do the informing. Thomas Troward said it this way: be plus do equals have. I guarantee you, if you focus on being the truth of your heart, there is no way to avoid it informing your doing. And you'll find yourself getting ready to take an action and kind of stopping and wondering why you're doing it. It's shifting. That's the transformation. The awareness is happening. Or you'll find yourself doing things that you never thought about doing, but they give you great joy. Be, do. The have will take care of itself. I invite you to just quit focusing on the habit. Focus on your be. Allow it to inform your doing, and be amazingly surprised at what you get. You will not be disappointed. Let's take this into prayer. Infinite oneness, perfect peace, the rightness of the heart, absolute love, absolute light, infinite abundance, infinite intelligence that holds all of creation, perfect order, perfect balance within itself, pouring its love, pouring everything that it is into its creation without restriction, without qualification, without hesitation. This is what the one is. And because it creates out of itself into exquisite, amazing, individualized expressions of itself, it has to be my life. It has to be the life of all life. Because it creates out of itself, it has to be within me. And because it's all there is, I have to be within it. No separation. Nowhere to separate from. Nowhere to separate to. So I am one with it, as is all life. And in this oneness, everything that it is mine. I don't have to look for goodness. I just have to say thank you and use it. I don't have to look for more, because all already is me. I don't have to search for peace. I simply have to be it. I don't have to look for love. I have to be it. I have to be the abundance. I get to be the abundance, the intelligence, the peace, the power, the presence, the beauty, the joy that I already am. The instant I recognize it, the instant I say yes in my heart, I become it. And as I become it, it informs my doing. And I simply need to go with the program. There's no effort. There is the courage of my heart. And so in this moment, I stand in that courage. In this moment, I speak my word, which is the word of the one speaking as me for all of life. That putting it into the soup right now, changing the flavor of the soup of consciousness, we all stand a little more in the courage of our heart. This moment. And that can't be taken out of the soup. Grateful. So grateful for this life, for this love, for this heart that is connected to and is one with the mainframe. And so I say thank you, thank you, thank you. And I simply release, I let go, and I stand in what is. And I invite you to join me as we anchor this together by saying, and so it is.